Welcome, everybody. We're going to be starting after the countdown. So we got other folks that are coming in. I know we're kind of going a little early. I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining even early on this one. This is going to be a great show. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oops. All right, look at all these new folks here. Brendan Turner, Jeff Rush. All right, thanks so much, Leilani. All right, Desmond, Teresa. Hey, everybody. Brendan. Oh, we got some note takers here as well. Look at this, we got Dave Seibert on too. Hey Dave, say hello in the chat window, brother. Good to see you, man. All right. This one's going to be a great one today, guys. A really cool one. Hey, Kenya. All right. Thank you. Brendan. All right. Frank Hauser from Seattle. All right, Frank. Oh, Leilani. Love Leilani. Go Rams, Brendan. FD Maria, Detroit to D-Train. All right. Unfortunately, the Lions never win anything, but hey, we still love you for participating. All right, here we go.
The Microsoft ecosystem is constantly evolving, and for many partners, it's overwhelming to keep up. Constant program updates, intricate incentive structures, and ever-changing priorities leave partners struggling to stay ahead. Without a clear roadmap, critical opportunities are missed. These challenges don't just cost time, they cost revenue. Working with Microsoft doesn't have to be this difficult. With the right support, you can cut through the complexity, take control of your strategy, and unlock measurable growth. We help partners simplify their path to success by providing the guidance and resources needed to fully maximize their Microsoft relationship. Ready to learn more?
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're calling from around the world. I want to say thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Voice of the Microsoft Partner. Can you believe we've been doing this since 2020? I think we've got like 75 shows. It's unbelievable. And this year has turned out to be even probably the best year that we've had. We've got, consistently Microsoft speaker after Microsoft speaker after Microsoft speaker. It's really, really been fantastic. So just a couple of things before we get started. We got some rules of engagement. Okay, for here, we are actually going to be recording this. So this is recording, several of you have sent your note takers as well. But this is going to be recorded. So if you feel uncomfortable with being your likeness that's on here, please go ahead and exit the actual session, and we'll go ahead and send you a recording. So don't worry, you're not going to miss anything, but you will miss the ability to talk and ask questions with our great speaker today. So that's number one. It's going to be recorded. Number two, we also want you to use this as a potential networking opportunity if you so choose to do this. Many of you are calling in from all over the country or all over the world, really. And there might be from time to time, you might meet somebody in New York or somebody in Washington, right, or in Seattle or Redmond near the mothership that could help you out. So please, if you feel comfortable and you want to go ahead and share your information, go ahead and put that in the chat window. We really would like you to do that. Just in the event, right? We're better together, especially in this day and age where, being an MSP of the past, well, I'm going to be taking care of just your networking and we're all doing the same thing. It's exploded with the cloud, right? There's 10,000 new workloads. None of us are going to be expert at everything, right? So you might need some help. So I encourage that. Next, we're going to be having polls. We have 4 or 5 polls today. If you've been on any one of our past sessions, you know that we put them up here. Now, we do not display who actually votes on what. It's very important to us. We want this to be a safe place for you to feel like you can go ahead and vote on this. Now, we use these polls to kind of accentuate some of the, the topics that we're actually talking about. Also to get some feedback too. We got one really good one about, going to market, and don't push it yet, Richard. One about going to market with agents. We're just very curious, kind of like, what people are actually, doing these days, right? So we have that, some polls. Also, please ask questions. We've got a great speaker here. Go ahead and ask questions today in the chat window. Now, I have my full team on here today that will be answering questions as you go. We've got the best in the business when it comes to understanding partner things, but there might be something specific. Now, we're going to be taking those questions. We'll be asking Rob kind of on the back end. We're not seeing this, hey, is it okay to ask this question or whatnot? Now, don't ask any personal questions because we're not going to ask that, okay? So, like I said, well, how do you really feel about, we're not going to ask that. So don't worry about that. But please go ahead and use the Q&A for that. Okay, or not Q&A, excuse me, the chat window. Go ahead and put a question or answer. My team will then do that. So with that being said, before we kind of get into this, I've got just a couple quick updates for the Crancer Group. Now, many of you know who we are, what we do. My team always says, hey, just give 2 seconds to what we really do. And so there's 2 updates, from the Crancer Group that we have. Basically, just in case you didn't know, what we specialize in is shaping Microsoft partners. That's what we specialize. There are 1,000 programs that, you can take a part of at Microsoft. We focus on just the 5 top programs that will unlock the largest ROI for you as a Microsoft partner. Partners that work with us typically, get a 4 to 6 times ROI on the investment worth working this, because we're going to find the errors, we're going to find all the issues. At the end of this month, the announcement is we're going to have a Power BI dashboard that's going to be able to link directly into your partner center, that's going to be able to find the top 5 to top 10 issues that you currently have and always highlight them so that you can easily go. The partner center is always changing all the time. Oh my gosh, you want to pull your hair out. Like, where do we find this stuff? So our dashboard is going to be amazing that we're going to have out there. And the last thing I just want to mention is we want to get right to our topic here. I don't want this to be about the Crancer Group, but tell you this, is we also have this service called Certification as a Service. If you are an organization that is struggling to get your solution partner designation because you don't have enough certs, you can't get your folks to take the certs to get the certs, not a problem. We can get up to 10 certs in 30 days. Not a problem. It's a fraction of what it would cost you to get those people in service. So with that being said, that's it. That's all I'm going to say about this, was we want to get to our speaker here in just a second. So today we got Rob Lawrence, account strategist from Microsoft, on the call today. And we're going to be talking a lot about the Agentic AI services opportunity. Our agenda is, what is Agentic AI? I know we've been hearing a lot about that, right? Critical Microsoft tech. Thank you, Leilani. That was so nice, sweet of you to say that. Critical Microsoft tech. We're going to talk about the services opportunity and what can you do right now? So remember this, when you come to the Voice of Microsoft partner, we're here to solve problems, to understand things, to look at strategy, to kind of get a little bit different perspective. I'm not here to sell you on anything. We're not. We're trying to solve the problem, okay? We're trying to figure this stuff out so we can get there quicker, better, faster. We can be dynamic and we can actually take over the world. Well, some of you want to take over the world. I want to take over the world, but maybe we don't have too many people taking over the world, right? Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and introduce our great speaker today. Rob, would you mind, introducing yourself?
Sure.
And a little bit about, yeah, let's go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Sherman. So I'm Rob Lawrence. I am an account strategist at Microsoft. I work in enterprise and I work in the operating unit that we call software and digital platforms inside Microsoft US. So about 8 years here, and 4 of those have been exclusively with this OU, which we work 100% with other software companies. So that's my job. So I'm kind of like at the intersection of software and software, which is super interesting. So outside of work, I am a musician, as you'll see in the photo there. I'm a husband. I'm the father of 3 sons, 2 of whom are in college. I've got 2 dogs. I've been in enterprise technology sales for about 10 years. Before that, I was in management consulting, and before that, I was in software development. So I've kind of run the gamut of IT, sales and services. And just as a kind of prelude today, also I'm in New York today. And New York is really where I launched my career, and I was a whippersnapper during the first kind of .com boom, when everyone was building websites and such. So I see a lot of commonality. I see a sort of similar mood today. I know the mood has been a little dark in software and tech industry for a few years, but I think we're about to see a huge boom in services around Agentic AI. So really psyched to talk to everybody about that today.
That is awesome. And thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's always good to get a little context, with that. We do have a poll, our very first one, because I'm just kind of curious, kind of where people are at. So Richard, if you can go ahead and, Ashosh, go to the chat window and put the poll, put your question in there for us. But the first poll, let's see, I can't see it, says you're not connected, but let me go ahead. The first poll we have here is going to be, there we go. What percentage of your sales outreach is around Microsoft agents? I'm really curious. We've been hearing agents. So if you go ahead and go ahead and vote there, we could just kind of curious. And then remember, we're not sharing this with anybody. Okay, I'm not even going to give this to Rob later. I'm not going to or Microsoft. Okay, so interesting. 5%. Okay, 6 of you did that. 20%. 2 of you did that. 2%, and we haven't started yet. Okay, 24 responses. That's pretty good. And that's actually, this is kind of good for us, right? Because now we're kind of, this session today is going to probably help us get there. Now, with that, we have one more poll too. I got another one that I just want to go ahead and do. Let's go ahead and launch the second one here. And then we're going to talk a little bit before we start with Rob. Richard, do you want to go ahead and get the next one there? Perfect. Okay. An agent is, let's see, let's go. What do you think Agentic AI is? That's a good question. An agent is AI that takes action autonomously, just a fancier name for chatbots. I hear the term a lot, but not clearly defined yet. Any way to create efficiencies without high cost. So with that, we've got some good responses coming up here. Okay, well, the majority of you, already at 76% of the votes here, takes actions autonomously. Okay, very cool. I heard the term a lot, but not clearly defined yet. We've got a few folks in there. Fancier name for chatbots. Okay, that's cool. All right, very cool. All right, that's good. I just want to kind of see it's a good way to start. But before we get started, you had a couple thoughts, Rob.
Yeah. So because the field is moving so fast, when we start a discussion, right, and we all have different amounts of time available, right, in our professional lives and personal lives to keep up with what's going on. So it's really hard to calibrate the level of these discussions or how advanced they are, right? So what's going to be basic for one person could be completely incomprehensible to somebody else. And then what another person thinks of advanced is going to seem painfully basic to someone else. So I just kind of encourage, like, if people have clarifying questions, to send them to you guys in the chat, and anything you guys want to take to calibrate me while I'm going, and say, assume people know more or assume people know less. Happy to adjust.
Excellent, excellent. So, our very first, our very first question is, and I like it from your perspective, right? It's, what is agentic AI? You're in it. You're the account technical strategist, right? So you're in it. You're talking.
Yeah.
So how are you describing it? What would you? How would you explain it?
Yeah, and I'm actually here in New York today on a Friday for a workshop, an all-day workshop on agentic. So I just stepped out to do this. So it's starting in late 2022, the experience millions of us had with ChatGPT, that was with generative AI, right? So generative AI goes and generates content probabilistically from data it's been trained on, right? But an agent, as 76% or more people were getting there, it's an AI that takes action autonomously, and it has a number of qualities, right? It's able to perceive context, so it can act intelligently. It can reason over data. It can execute multiple steps. It's not like you just have to sit there like with, say, like a ChatGPT or a entry-level Copilot, right? And then it will iterate on outcomes, meaning it will try something, then it will go try something else. I recently saw a demonstration of this out in Mountain View. One of our engineers just came and said, I'm just going to tell this agent to go book me a trip through the Middle East. And he gave it the name of a couple cities. And we just watched as that thing went to travel websites, tried things, found the best price, did all this stuff, and just kept taking action after action after action. And that relentlessness, I mean, it's crazy to watch, like if you actually see it in real time. So it's a step up, and it's qualitatively different than anything. If you're just used to, like a generative AI, generating text or images, this is going to be a whole other level of surprise for you, and a whole other level of value.
I kind of, I think when you say that story, I keep thinking of, is it how it's going to help my brother, instead of my brother booking me on a 4 layover, odyssey across the country. I can just tell the agent, hey, make sure it's just a direct flight.
Yeah. The agent will take care of it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a girl or guy or gal Friday, right? At least when you use like as a personal assistant, and of course, it's going to have a huge role in enterprises. And I like to compare it to some of the original era of process engineering, where we were saying, okay, don't just remake the same process. Think end to end. What are the outcomes you need? What are the inputs you have? What are the outputs? And redesign based on that. But that's maybe a discussion for another day. So,
and we're actually using it with our Power BI dashboard. It's not just a static Power BI dashboard. It's being able to then understand things. They'd be able to take 3 or 4 or 5 other steps. And what my team has shown me with the development is unbelievable. It's like, holy Moses! Because some of the stuff that we do, like we'll take a look at the reporting, and then we have to understand it, right? We have to make the correlation. What's missing? What's not missing? The agent automatically is then coming up with this information. It's really cool. It's like, holy crap! And it's taking something that takes 6 hours down to legitimately 15 minutes.
Yeah, and depending on your attitude towards tech, you'll find it either like really fascinating or really creepy that a thing is out there taking all these steps on your behalf. So I fall in the interesting camp, but not everybody's comfortable with it yet.
So, a lot of our partners, or Microsoft has made such a push on agents, Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's AI, and we've all heard it. I mean, to the ends of the earth. But if we just start, like, what Microsoft tech do we really need to know to get going? I mean, let's try to clear that up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is something that really requires a holistic view of, let's say, enterprise technology or SMB technology, right? And I also recommend that you get to know like the abstract concept. Like, say you work with Microsoft all the time, you should still take a look at what AWS is doing. You should still take a look at what GCP is doing. The more fluent you are, the better your customer conversations are going to be. And I find going from the general model to the specific and back, it's a really great way to learn stuff. But what's going to matter? And remember some of those points I was calling out. And what is an agent, right? So it understands context. It's able to reason autonomously, take steps. So that all implies data, first of all. So one of the key points going into this new era of agentic is most data estates in enterprises are not really ready for what's coming, because they got to have access to the right data. They have to be prevented from having the wrong data. They have to be prevented from doing malicious things, which is a whole topic in itself. So I would encourage you to get familiar with all the technologies of the Microsoft data estate, right? So we have Fabric, which it's really like the unified Microsoft analytics stack, top to bottom. It's just kind of put together and marketed that way. You've got OneLake, which is the logical data lake under Fabric workloads. You've got M365 Copilot, which is what most people call Copilot, as they experience it every day. You've got Copilot Studio, so that's like a low-code agent builder, and that sits on Power Platform. You've got Azure AI Foundry, that is for your heavier duty scratch development. Think of it as the pro code version. And then you've got Agent 365, and this was like a recent announcement out of the last build. And that is the control plane for agents. So if you think of M365 being, Microsoft for users, A365, it manages identity and tools for agents. Because if you think about it, if you tell an agent, go send an email for me, it's got to use email software, right? So A365 is that. It's what gives the access rights to the agent. And it's also a control plane for agents. So you can see what agents are doing in your environment. And you can allocate them permissions and everything, just like you would do with Entra ID, say. And then lastly, very importantly, though, you've got Purview, which is your data governance platform. And because the matter of what data people have access to, or rather agents have access to, what actions they can take on it, what they can read, what they can write, that becomes very important as well. So that's a lot. But, I think that you want your teams to be able to think holistically about all these pieces, because if you think about it, if you set an agent loose in an environment and it didn't know anything about it, wouldn't know what to do, right? So all of that context, that meaning, that all comes from, in our world, from the Microsoft ecosystem and, third-party tools that integrate into the Microsoft ecosystem.
Interesting. So let me this is a little off script, but I was thinking about this yesterday. There used to be a software that I used to help rep called Surveil. And it was very interesting. It would go into Microsoft 365 and Azure and find optimization opportunities. That's what it basically what it did. But what was very interesting is on every called health check that we did, we would typically find, and it'd be SharePoint files. This one thing, SharePoint files.
Yeah.
You have 99,265 SharePoint files. 1% have been used in the past 60 days.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's kind of like Johnny's room. Hey, Johnny, clean up your room. Johnny never cleans up his room, right? It's just kind of like the repository. So I was thinking in my head, because I think one of the main things is data cleanup, or not that data cleanup, but data authenticity, just the right data that you're looking at. What if a partner said, okay, look, we're going to take a look at your 20 years of data, and what we're going to do is take 2 years of that data and put that into a data lake, ring fence it, just put it in there, and then start running your copilots, your different AI foundry, you do the different things, kind of creating a small data warehouse, but that is ring central, where not central, but ring fence, where just the copilot or the AI is searching in that. Am I even on the right track? kind of
No,
thinking?
yeah, you're thinking in the correct terms, right? So, and there's two concepts that people confuse sometimes. So one is training and the other is grounding, right? So training is kind of like, think of it as the basics of what like an AI can do, right? Based in the fine points of the model. But grounding is that's telling it what data to use in its reasoning, right? And all those optimizations you talked about, like retiring old SharePoint sites, or at least fencing them off if they're not relevant, telling the AI what to pay attention to and what not to pay attention to, that really affects the outcomes, even though they're probabilistic, right? So that whole process of curating, cleaning your data is critical to grounding. And then the grounding is critical to the performance of tasks and everything that agents are going to do on your behalf, how fast they can do them, how accurately, securely, et cetera. So yeah, you are thinking in the right terms. And if you hear that and you're like, man, this sounds like it's going to be a real ball of wax, I think it really is. I mean, I think organizations, they have not been building for this, right? This is just kind of coming along now. So I would look at it as we are about to go through a mass industry experiment and mass learning about what it's going to take to do this, just as we have in some previous eras, right? Whether it was .com or Internet 2.0 or dawn of social or whatever. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to get things wrong, but it's important to get started, and understanding the role that data plays in AI grounding and behavior is really important.
Yeah, I thought of a tagline. You could do a website called AI Janitor, where we specialize in cleaning up your files to get you ready for AI. And look, we're going to come in. We're going to be
well, I'm sure you remember when in some of the early Gen AI press stories, right? There was like, somebody asks, how much does the CFO make a year? And, and the AI just spat out the answer, right? So there were hundreds of cases like that were out there. Now, though, this is not just a human going and asking, right? This is going to be this agent making decisions based on what it can see, right? So it's going to be a whole other level of complexity and a need to ground and secure data. So you are thinking in the correct terms, absolutely.
Okay, cool. We had a couple questions in here. I just want to, Ashish,
Sure.
Thank you so much for doing that. For solo founding engineer, how does early stage products actually get initial customer traction? Does Microsoft help introductions, or is it completely on the founding engineer? Ooh, that one actually, Ashish, if you want to hold that question for next month, we have Andrew Bro and Brandon Blau. We're going to be talking about how to sell with Microsoft sellers. That might be a better one for them to help you out on that one. But we'll send you our thoughts a little bit later today. But there's also Sanjeev said, how about if you're helping existing customers, is Microsoft align in helping implement?
Yeah. So
would you want to touch that, or?
Yeah, sure. So what you're going to see, and I mean, you're already seeing a degree of it. Companies are realizing, like, those of us who are building the AI, that adoption is going to depend 100% on successful implementation. So there's going to be multiple levels of that, right? One is that Microsoft itself is creating what we're calling forward deployed engineers. I believe the concept started with Palantir first. And the idea is, hey, we're going to throw engineers into your environment, and we're just going to work with you until you're getting the results you want from the AI, right? And there are just ways to fund that and ways to do it, but we're never going to have enough. There's not going to be enough forward deployed engineers strictly within the employment of Microsoft to do all the work that's necessary. It's just not possible, right? So there's going to be and there are already, programs, certifications, all the normal channels for getting work with and for Microsoft are going to be in play here. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. But there's another thing too to understand: 0 to 500 seats is not on this thing called the major account list. And that is really
Right.
specified for Microsoft partners to do it. Now, if you have an account that's got 500 seats or more, or is on the major account list, that changes things dramatically, right?
Sure.
Is that you might have resources that you could, because they actually have people that are signed at Microsoft, and they want to get these things done correctly. So then there might be that opportunity to work with somebody to kind of get direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you guys are familiar with Azure commitments, right? So those are big forward commitments by customers to consume Azure. When those are being done right now, you are typically seeing a lot of ESIF, the end customer investment funding, set aside for professional services work. It's not all going to be done by Microsoft. There's not enough Microsoft people in the world, Microsoft employed people in the world to do all that work. So I would say start getting your certifications, start working those channels that you already know, those relationships, and make them aware that you're preparing for this work. And this work will start coming your way. There's going to be a lot of different types of it. We'll get into a little later in the chat here about what are going to be some of the prime types of work in enterprise and what's going to be in the SMB space.
Excellent.
Cool.
Now, David, very good question. Hold on, that's a big one. I will. We got a couple other things to get to first, but thank you, David, for putting the paragraph in there. We'll touch that in a second. All right, let's get into our next question here, which is this is great. What is the services opportunity with agentic AI? Right. What can we? How do we quantify this? Right. What are your thoughts?
Right. And first we're going to talk in terms of like total addressable market, right? And big numbers. And, these outfits like, BCG, McKinsey, Gartner, whenever there's a trend like this, they do a bunch of research and they put out some high level numbers that, sometimes they come true, sometimes they don't. I always think it's valuable to take a look though and hear, their reasoning. So BCG sees that there's going to be 200 billion in agentic AI project work in the next 5 years. Okay, so that's like 40 billion a year. So that's a pretty big services market. McKinsey believes there's going to be 10 billion to 400 billion in ongoing work after that. And if you've lived through some of these booms and you've been in the industry, there's usually like early on, there's project failures. Then there's people breaking through, proving they can do it. They emerge as your leaders. But then there's also, once the leaders implement something and move on, somebody's got to run what they've built. So that early sort of production support is also going to be really important. So I like I said, BCG sees like a 200 billion in the next 5 years. McKinsey sees that kind of ongoing spend after that of 100 up to 400 billion per year, because there's going to be all the ongoing work that has to be done, and we'll talk about why. And then eventually, of course, the market will contract. But I think there's going to be a very significant boom. And as I was saying earlier on the call, I mean, this really reminds me of the start of the .com boom, when you looked at the average company and like what they were ready to do, and most of them were not ready for what was coming, right? And there was a amount of shakeout around that. Microsoft, I think, sees there's going to be a bigger shakeout around this, because if you compare a company that is doing agentic AI at scale well for basic processes, right, and you compare one that's not or is struggling with it, the difference in cost basis is going to be huge. So the early agentic AI adopters and the ones who were early to excel, and we know from software development that people who move fastest actually tend to do the best. So it's taking your time is not necessarily the way to do it, right? Moving fast, experimenting, doing the proverbial breaking things, fixing them, and learning, like accelerating that learning curve. That's how you improve. So those companies are going to be able to bring their cost basis way down, no matter what industry we're talking about, right? So they're going to have tremendous competitive advantage. And if you are a services company and you have the potential of conveying that advantage, it's going to be like in any major project wave, there's going to be high premiums for top resources because it's literally affecting competitive advantage, competitive outcomes. So it's going to be very big. And, the number crunching types, that's what they've come up with. I crunch numbers for some things, but not for this. For this, I have more of a thumb in the wind, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be very big.
That's great. That's great. Hey, so we back to back to David Swenson's question. That is a little deeper than I think, especially in the last end of it. David, if you don't mind, we'll talk with Rob after the call. We'll put together a response of what he can actually say. I always got to be a little careful with this stuff. Is that the strategy wise, we don't know, but we'll get back to you. Just want to make sure that we do that.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think we have another poll coming up about enterprises because we have our next question. But Richard, you want to go ahead and launch the next poll, so we can get this going here. Okay. Our next one is here we go. Will agentic AI? What will agentic AI mean for large enterprises, and where do partners fit? Okay, so it'll be interesting to see what you guys have here. All right, so enterprises deploy agents, partners manage them. AI drives scale, partners ensure safety. Agents expand, partner role deepens. Okay. Oh.
The choice is kind of read like a haiku or something there. I don't know. It was kind of get a poetic
I know, right? Okay.
value to it there.
Team, we got to work on our polls because it's hard for me to even read them. But hey, I was part of the creation, so it's actually not my team. It's kind of me here. But thanks everybody for doing that. All right, yeah. So let's go into it. How will agents, in your opinion, you're an ATS, you're seeing this from the enterprise perspective. Yeah. How will it affect the large enterprises?
Yeah. So all the classic advantages and problems of scale apply here, right? So if you're a big enterprise, what do you have going for you? Well, you've got money and you have talent, which is great, right? But you also have some weaknesses. So your weaknesses are going to be that you have a lot of legacy infrastructure that's going to make it harder to change, right? There's like this old software development joke that's something like, how did God create the world in 7 days? He didn't have an installed base. I think that's the joke. And if you ever worked on a transformation project, you get it, right? Because you discover that the art of taking things apart and working with what's already there, especially when there's money riding on it and it's complicated, right? This requires like real skill. So that, I think the opportunity here is going to be probably primarily for big SIs that can skill up quickly on AI. And also that have related practices like change management, right? And, I don't mean code change management, but I mean people and organizational change management, because this is going to bring a lot of change. There's going to be a lot of human impact. Having some of that scale to throw at these problems will be valuable. Now, I have existed as a boutique doing work for big companies. And if you have, if you have relationships and you have the right expertise at the right time, you can certainly also succeed consulting to enterprises during a boom like this. I think it's 100% possible, right? You might have a small advisory, but you're just really good at something, right? But I think mostly this market is going to belong to the big players who can throw scale at it. And like I said, who can do the things like the program management and the change management as well.
So I have a little bit of a contradictory point of view on this.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. And the way I look at it, I think this is one of the greatest opportunities for the SMB partner to get involved. But caveat to this, the large enterprise. The opportunity in my mind is, look, you can look at a large enterprise and break it up into industry first. Okay, so you're like, okay, what industry is this in? And then break it up into interdepartments. Okay. Yeah. So now, then the third thing you do is you're like, okay, what is the problem that is facing the most headaches, and let's say in HR at this company or in operations at this company? And if you can come up with a solution to a problem that is scheduling, logistics. There's so many different things that agents can actually do, right? They can create efficiencies. If you can come up with a prepackaged solution that says, hey, I'm calling on behalf, we work in the construction industry. We help specifically HR departments in the construction industry or logistics inside of the construction industry. And we solve these 3 problems, and our ROI is 4 to 6 times the investment. That changes everything, because now you have this opportunity to solve a problem that and then you have the chance to get in and break in at a department level, which then you can expand out. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree, and that's why I said, like, boutiques can punch way above their weight with expertise, and then how is expertise defined, right? So the finer you take it, like if you say, say it's something like HR and retail. We've solved HR and retail related problems over and over again. All of a sudden, there you are, and you're punching above your weight, right? And this is why boutiques always exist in consulting, right? So if they have the expertise, they have a way to reach a buyer, they have a way to land the message, convince someone to part with some money, they absolutely have a fighting chance. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I think so. We have some other questions in here, but it's good because we're actually going to be going into one of the questions about SMB. Let's go ahead and get into our next topic here, a little bit about how will agentic AI affect small business, in your opinion?
Yeah, so and I probably refer back to the dot-com era a lot, aging myself, but I do think there was like a trajectory to learn from there, right? Which we went from people doing a lot of custom work for large enterprises, and then over time we saw like almost like a retailization of those services, right? So people doing websites, say, for small businesses, right? Or doing e-commerce for small businesses. I think we'll see a bit of a similar effect here. I mean, the strength of small and medium businesses when it comes to implementing something like agentic, right, is that they're going to have less scale and they're going to have less legacy infrastructure and legacy people to deal with, right? So, like, if an SMB only has like 3 or 4 operations employees, it's going to be a lot easier to automate its operations, right? And get that expertise and provide agents that can do those tasks. The weakness is that they have less money and they don't have a lot of in-house talent, right? So they don't have the resources available for implementation. So I think providers who can, whether it be big or small, but they can retailize those services, so to speak, and do them at scale and have sort of like canned, simple engagements that they can execute over and over for SMBs. I think they will be a winner in this space. And I mean, the problems are very similar, right? They're like, the cleanliness of the data, the processes that are being performed, the way the agents need to be, grounded and developed and tested. All that applies, but there's less customization, right? So again, I think it's somewhat more of a retail effect, and could be a valuable space and a great space to operate as a small and medium partner for sure.
Now, on top of that, if you're the way I kind of look at it, I always come with a sales and marketing mind, just how my brain works. It's like,
sure.
Okay, how do we go? How do we sell this? How do we talk about this, right? When I was at Microsoft, my first 2 years was working with business associations. And basically, we were trying to pair partners with business associations to some good effect and not good effect. But, the way I kind of look at AI, especially for SMB, if you found something like in manufacturing, you're solving 3 or 4 things, right? Smaller things, but it's for an SMB manufacturer and it's canned. My first thing is, after I develop that, what I would do, I would go to the California Manufacturing Association. I would join them, and I would basically because I love associations, because if you're a member of the association and you're there advocating for your industry, you're probably profitable as a business. Okay, the ones that are struggling aren't showing up to the association get-togethers. The ones that have money, and it's a closed group of just manufacturers. So imagine if now you have this canned approach to solving a certain problem for small manufacturers, and now you're in the association. Wow. Now you have a total addressable market that's very specific that you can just go repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and go after them on an SMB level. What do you think about that?
I think there's even more advantages than what you said. I mean, so it's like a multiplicative channel, right? So you do something once. I mean, the other thing is like smaller companies and that, that are going to tend to be founder run or, family run. I think word of mouth goes very, very far in that kind of buying environment, right? They don't have time to like vet all your claims, but they're like, oh, you did something for, those folks over there, who I know through my country club or whatever, or through the association. That goes a really long way in that market. So yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. And I think regardless, I think any professional services firm, as it's getting started, is going to have an investment period where I think they're going to need to approach an already trusted client where they have an already trusted relationship, and they might have to eat some of the cost of a project just to get started. I mean, I've always tried to avoid that, but like, it's hard to charge a premium when you don't yet have the track record. So I would say you want to be looking for those projects that are going to establish that track record, right? And then in enterprise, the way you're going to scale and the way you're going to scale in SMB, it's the same. It's success stories, right? Those are, at the end of the day, it's track record and success stories that get you the new business.
Yeah. That's great. That's great advice right there. We did have a small question. I only we got two more to get to with you, Rob. But
sure.
Does OpenClaw come into conversation? No, is that really right? OpenClaw come into conversations when discussing Azure AI Foundry? Yeah, can you even answer that? Is that something that you can answer?
I'm not an expert on that, but it has been coming up a lot. One of my colleagues installed OpenClaw like one weekend and asked to do a bunch of stuff. And it operates at the level with the same permissions as you on your own machine, right? So the way he told it, it did a bunch of things he wanted it to do. It did a few things he didn't want it to do. He had to go back and undo some of those things. So it's definitely something like that type of agent is going to be very real and very important. I'd say right now it's still for early adopters. Let's say that this guy is definitely of the early adopters type, and he was semi-satisfied with the results. So
actually, input that is cool. It's a good.
Yeah.
Maybe what services should we develop?
I'm sorry, because I lost your audio for a second there, Sherman.
Oh, yeah. What services? A lot of partners are asking. What services would you say? Yeah, should we develop?
Right. So I've got a number of them. So first, there's like, the what should we do, right? The sort of why we should do it. So that I would think of as like an AI readiness and strategy engagement, and that's going to have kind of some classic operational strategy elements and some program management, right? So if you're strictly a tech consultancy and you haven't done that kind of work before, I would say maybe pick up a couple people who can do things like that, because that's going to provide some tip of the wedge for your business development, because you're going to have a lot of those, why do we want to do this type conversations at the start. So I think that's going to be valuable. The next big thing is going to be data architecture and remediation. By the way, Sherman, can you still hear me? Because your video froze on me. Okay, I can hear you. Okay, cool. So data architecture and remediation, for all the reasons I said, there's all the actions the agent is going to take is based on data, right? So all of that data architecture and the quality, security, et cetera, that all has to be solid. So then you're going to have your governance, security, and compliance engagements that are related to that. You're going to have, building agents. That can be like low code if it's in something like Copilot Studio, right? So that's not necessarily a high skill endeavor. It's going to still take some skill. You could have pure scratch development and something like AI Foundry. But then, and this is really important, right? Like, say you build something, it goes live, et cetera. There's still going to be like a stabilization phase. And also, agents over time, they start making different decisions because they're reacting to different situations. So you have to monitor for what's called drift, right? So as the agent suddenly start taking different actions and acting a different way. So even more than in normal technology consulting, the post go live is going to be very important. And then the last thing I'd say is that there's going to be all this human impact. So you're going to need kind of classic change management services, and you're going to need workforce enablement. So all those will be important. Hey, are you there? Yeah. Can everyone hear me? Because my audio started.
Yeah, no, Rob, we can hear you. We can definitely hear you. I think we just lost Sherman is all.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Thanks for the clap in there. I see that.
There we go. Yeah, give us a second to get him back and we'll get the presentation
no
going.
worries. Yep.
I know there was another question, Rob. I'm not sure if we
Sure.
want to touch on it more around where Copilot ends and where agents begin inside of an organization. I don't know in your experience if you've seen kind of when a customer's ready and
it's a great question. It's a great question. And if you look at some of the other commercial, some of the other products, right, such as Claude, right, there's not like an agent concept, right? So I would say where agents take over is when you get out of content generation and answering questions and purpose building like artifacts for some purpose. Like when you leave that and you get into this sort of multiple steps that the agent is going to take on your behalf, solve a problem, take multiple routes to get there, et cetera. That's kind of like the line between a Gen AI and an agent. I hope that helps clear it up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think Sherm,
Cool.
are you back?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you now.
Okay. I feel like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? All right. A couple of things. What will drive project success? That's probably our next question for you, Rob.
Yeah. And I think all the classic program and project management is going to become super important again. I think we had a period of it where people took it very seriously, and then we got into this era of DevOps and really doing development driven software where I think some of that discipline maybe got a little rusty. So I think program management discipline is going to become very important again. So what is that going to involve? I would say prioritizing the right use cases, right? Say, what are the problems we want to solve with Agentic AI? Also, re-engineering processes. I had the saying I used to use in consulting a lot, which is don't pave the cow path. In fact, I'm near Broadway right now, and Broadway is actually a paved cow path. So if you're wondering why like all the other roads are straight and Broadway is crooked, it's because it was a cow path and the cow path was paved, right? So don't pave the cow path. You're just going to create something awkward, and you're automating the wrong thing. Take a fresh look at the situation. Look at the capabilities that are available to solve the problem, whether it's processing invoices or whatever, and then apply the technology. Then there's going to be governance. So not only data governance, but also agent governance, right? So what agents are allowed in the environment? What are they allowed to do? What can they access? What can they see? What actions can they take? And when they take the wrong action, how am I going to roll that back? Also very important. So related to that, you have agent orchestration. How do agents work together? Just like people have to work together, agents going to have to work together. And then you're going to have monitoring. It's going to be super important because you're going to have to see, are the agents doing what we expected? Are they taking the right actions? Are we getting the sort of process results we wanted? How are we performing against the previous human performed process? In what direction is the agent performed work going in terms of quality and how fast? So I think we'll see probably some kind of maturity framework evolve for agentic AI success. Probably someone's already created one. I would go look for that because I think that's where your project success criteria are going to come from.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so we got one more question to go before we
Sure.
kind of wrap this up. And many partners are probably wondering, what should we do now? So from your perspective, what advice would you give the partners?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously, anytime there's a new wave of technologies coming, there's a few things you're going to have to do, right? So you're going to have to procure the talent or skill up the talent, right? So they're going to have to get good at the relevant technologies. They're going to have to get the right certifications. And you're going to have to learn, as if you didn't already have enough dialects of Microsoft ease to speak. There's going to be a whole bunch more ones coming, right? All around this vocabulary of agentic AI projects, et cetera. The other is start creating alliances right now. They're going to set you up to succeed. So, I talked about how some of these projects are going to be cross-functional, right? So if you can do agent development, but you've never touched change management, or you've never touched like organizational impact of a technology project, it's going to be really hard to just do that technology project by yourself. I would be out there actively aligning with other firms, connecting through, organizations like Crancer Group or, Ultimate Partner or what have you, and saying, hey, how can we ally to really deliver value for customers? So I think those are some critical things that everyone should be doing right now. And then, of course, I'm a big believer in reading, even in 2026. So I've got 3 reports listed there that I would totally recommend you check out. That's where some of this, somewhere the stats at the beginning of this interview came from. So BCG, 200 billion agentic AI opportunity. And then you got one from McKinsey and you got one from Deloitte. There's a lot more. You can also load these into an AI and teach the AI, and you can have the AI quiz you about what's in the reports, and there's all kinds of fun things you can do. But I would just really lean into learning. I think this is going to be a big boom. It's going to be a big multi-year boom. And the more fluent you get, the more relationships you start creating right now, the more you're going to be in position to benefit from this. And it's not going to be a short wave. It's going to be a lot of starts and stops, and it's going to be exciting.
Hey, Rob, thank you, man. Thank you so much, man. You killed it today. This was
Sure.
great information, I think. And God, just stuff that we can't get without talking to folks like yourself. So, man, thank you again. I hope to have you back soon. Really, just, I can't say enough. This was great. This was great. If you want to contact Rob, okay, check this out. He's one of the few, the proud and the awesome at Microsoft is giving you his contact information. So, reach out to Rob if you got some other questions here. But please be respectful as well, of his time. I think we all are, right? But just please be respectful of that.
Yeah. It's supposed to be respectful because I respond to every request for help. I'm genetically incapable of not helping. So at a minimum, I'm going to take some time to hand you off. So, and I love doing that. So if you do reach out, make sure you get your question formulated right. And, I will put you in touch with somebody who can help.
Fantastic. All right, next month, we actually have former Microsoft folks that just left, Andrew Bowe and Brandon Blau. If you've been to some of our last years, we had Andrew on. Andrew's former Microsoft Worldwide Director of Partner Strategy, and Brandon is former Microsoft Azure Sales Lead, SMC and SMB. Everyone talks about, hey, how do I work with Microsoft sellers? How do I stand out? How do I do this? You're going to hear it from the top 2 folks that just recently left Microsoft, and they're going to actually break it all down for you. I've already seen the top 10 questions we're looking at discussing. It will be phenomenal. Go ahead and tell your friends, your other partners that are in your group to come to this meeting, especially if you liked it the way it is, and that you like the fact that we didn't try to sell you on anything. We're not trying to do that, right? We're trying to solve problems and figure stuff out here. So yeah, next month, it's always the last Friday of the month. That's how we do it, 11 to 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But hey, everybody, thanks so much for coming today too. Thank you much, and I really appreciate the questions that were in there. You guys voting on the polls, it only makes it better and better. And we try to, we put a lot of time and effort in this, because we want to make sure that what we deliver is something that's worth your time, right, to come see it. So we're gonna give you 2 minutes back, on your day, so that you can get right to your next calls. But everyone, thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Voice of the Microsoft Partner. We love doing this. This is actually one of the fun things that I get to do, on a monthly basis. And Rob, once again, thank you, brother.
Sure.
You did a great job today, man. This is unbelievable.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on, and hope to come back sometime. So.
All right. Sounds great.
Awesome.
All right, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much. Have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you again in about a month. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I know. Thanks.